Hello, everyone. I know this is bad quality, but it's on a laptop I just revamped yesterday. It's what I got. It's what I got. I'm going to start this off with why I chose to do a video. If you know anything about me, my mom and I were extremely close. It's been about 15 years since I went a day without checking in on her. And if I'm this emotional, sitting alone in a room by myself, it's only going to be that much worse in front of a group of people who loved her as well. And we don't have all day. My only hope for this eulogy is to adequately capture the essence of my mom in these words. Today shouldn't be a day of loss. It should be a time to honor the spirit of my mom, which I believe, in essence, was the spirit of love. I define love as a state of being whereby a person makes one with true inner peace. And Mom was by far the best I've ever seen. Unfortunately, the world does what it always does. It operates with malicious opposition to those who are faithfully good. Because of this, Mom's suffering may have seemed wrong, but it wasn't. There has only ever been one man to be all-loving. And whilst he endured the weight of all human sin atop his shoulders, we nailed him to a cross. Yet in death, he was born anew. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Matthew 20, verse 28. From my mom, I was gifted faith and grace. And from that faith, I developed a deep, unrelenting love for humanity, for humans and the human spirit. For my dad, I was gifted competence. And from that competence, I developed a sturdiness for which I could face the pain that unrelenting love would cause me. We got really lucky with our parents. I don't know of any other mothers who were as compassionate as mine. Her compassion was so unrelenting that it would end up leading her down the path of working with abuse victims, helping the people she was best able to help. This was a job that she was so naturally good at that she would easily rise up the ranks and eventually run the show at the Grimsby Life Center and eventually move up to the Niagara Life Center. It doesn't stop there either. I can't tell you how many times I would come home from a long day of roofing, walk into the living room, and Mom would be sitting on the couch chatting it up with a girl I hadn't dated for over 10 years. I can't blame her, though. The girls would just seek wise counsel, and my mom gave that to them. I can't even begin to imagine the amount of people she's helped. But boy, did having a mom like that ever help me. See, I've had many mentors over the years, usually the strong male archetype. I was in construction for a good majority of my adult life. These mentors would always give me advice that I just couldn't grasp. It never made any sense. I even had one of these moments just a few months ago, and I did the same thing I've been doing for 30 years. I came home and I talked to Mom about it. What happened was, because I'm such a brutally honest and open person, a friend of mine, who's a very successful businessman, felt it necessary to guide me in the direction of discernment. which I agree with. He tapped me on the shoulder one day and told me, never let anybody know what I'm thinking. And as I drove home that day, I was furious. I could not understand the rationale. I believe firmly in discernment. I do. But it felt wrong. So I came home and Mom was in the living room, and she was pretty late stage dementia at this point. She didn't know what I was talking about, but she just stood there, smiling, listening. And after thousands of these moments, that was enough. The spirit of her wisdom was already inside of me. And so I said to her, why would I be afraid of letting people know what I think? Why would I live in fear of the world? There's nothing that can be taken from me that the Lord has given to me. I don't care about material things. I don't care how many enemies I make. I don't like the thought of people putting limits on what truths I may speak. However, I do care about what the Lord thinks of me. There's nothing I fear more than hearing the words, "Turn from me, for I never knew you." If Mom taught me anything, it's that truth is the language of the Lord. And I try very, very hard to speak His language. I think the greatest evidence as to Mom's loving strength was us kids. We spent a fair amount of time trudging around in the darkness, but especially me, and especially with drugs. I spent a lot of time in places that the overwhelming majority never come back from. It is thanks to the Spirit instilled within me by my mom that I was able to come back, that I was able to fight my way out of it. And thanks to the compassion she instilled within me, I know a lot of broken people. I have a lot of buddies whose moms would manipulate them, yell at them, hurt them, hit them, even abandon them. And when they would tell me stories from their childhood, I had none. I had none to share. The closest I had was the night when Kyle and I were goofing around. It was late. We were goofing around in the bedroom, and Mom had come in and warned us a couple times to quiet down, go to bed, and we just kept goofing around. And then finally she broke, and she yelled at us. Not a harsh yelling. It was a little yell. It wasn't even seconds later before she came back into the bedroom, her face covered in tears, begging, pleading for our forgiveness. All I can remember is the pain, gut-wrenching pain in the pit of my stomach from seeing my mom in that much pain. It felt like my heart had been ripped out and stomped all over. So much so that I can still feel it today. That level of compassion and empathy is overwhelming. I still feel it in my spirit as we speak. It's just who she was. My mom's very nature was sacrificial. She held who she was in the palm of her hand, bare and beholden to almost no ego. As I got older, I began to realize what a feat this truly was. Most people assume that loving as deeply as my mom did, whereby one may leave themselves vulnerable to the cruelty of the world, to be a weakness. It couldn't be further from the truth. It is in fact sacrifice that gives us the only real tangible evidence of love that exists. You see, ego is not separate from evil and evil from ego. If you have a hurricane and it kills millions of people, the hurricane's not evil. It's just a hurricane. It's nature. Every single act of cruelty stems from the human ego. Every husband who murders his cheating wife, every mother who aborts their unborn child, and every soldier who kills another soldier, they're all afraid of sacrifice and suffering. And they all think they're entitled to not endure said suffering. And after so many years of watching my mom get sicker and sicker, all while still having that beautiful, authentic smile always on her face, one I imagine she has in heaven today, it eventually hit me. Suffering is not to be feared or avoided. It's to be accepted and even embraced. It's to be considered an honor. Suffering is not the enemy. Just like the Lord showed us with His Son, we must trust in Him no matter the hardship. So much so, in fact, that we ought to be grateful. Otherwise, we end up entitled, and entitlement is just the manifestation of ego. So do not relish in the pain we feel here today, for we are not entitled to it. I love my mom more than anything in the world, but any tears I shed are happy tears. For Mom is blessed, and she has now been made whole. She now sits in heaven alongside He who gave us the spirit of love in the first place. I can assure you there's no place warmer.